YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Today, guys, we will be talking about the new Lightsworn cards. So this is your typical showcase. Now, as you might see here, we have a ton. Nevertheless, don't worry. This is gonna be a quick video anyway. So yeah, and then we'll have like a short 2-card combo with this deck. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Dimas for the stream yesterday and helping me out for tweaking the deck with regards to the Lightsworn and Tearlaments. Alright, so without further ado, let's check out the core deck list first. Okay, for the core deck list, this is for a pure version, by the way, okay? So, 3 copies of Wolf, 3 copies of Felis, 3 copies of Wise, and 3 copies of Lightsworn Dragonling, with your Charge of the Light Brigade on 3 copies, plus the new card, the Aegis. Extra deck, 1 copy of Minerva, the rank 4, the Minerva, the Synchro, and 1 copy of Michael, the Arc Lightsworn, which is just an additional card. You can choose to run or not to run Punishment Dragon or Judgment Dragon, either of which they are practically bricks if you're running them with a different archetype. I do think that Punishment is one of the best cards nowadays against the meta if you're running a pure Lightsworn deck. So quick summation, Wolf, if it is dumped to the graveyard, spell summon this card to the field. Charge of the Light Brigade allows you to gain access to 1 Lightsworn card, plus dumping 3 cards to the graveyard. Aegis, if dumped to the graveyard, you can set this card. Target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Up to the number of Lightsworn monsters you control, negate their effects. Felis, if dumped to the graveyard from your deck, spell summon this to the field. So it is a tuner and a level 4. And then we have Wise, the new card. So if you have 2 Lightsworn cards on your hand, you can place that one to the top of your deck and then spell summon this card to the field, and then you can mill 2 cards. So the Lightsworn card that you have on your hand, you can just mill it directly from your deck to the graveyard, triggering that effect. Also, if this card is sent from your deck to the graveyard while you have another Lightsworn monster other than Wise, you can spell summon that Lightsworn monster. Dragonling, on the other hand, if you have another Lightsworn monster in your graveyard, you can special summon Dragonling. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can gain access to one of your dragons, which is the Punishment and the Judgment Dragon. For our number of cards, if you're running pure, go for 3 copies. For Charge of the Light Brigade, if you're running another version, just go for 2 to 3 copies. But if you're running pure, go for 3 copies. Aegis, go for 1 to 2, it depends on your build. For Felis, I do think just running 2 copies of this on a pure version is okay. Wise, go for 2 to 3 copies if you're running with another variant. If you're running pure, go for 3. For Dragonling, run 3 copies of this if you're running pure. For the Punishment and the Judgment, if you're running with Tearlaments or another variant, don't run this at all. It is another brick that you have in your deck. Extra deck, 1 copies of each will do you just fine. And then we have the new Minerva Synchro monster. So if this card is Synchro Summon, you can dump 2 cards to the graveyard depending on the Lightsworn monsters you use to Synchro Summon this. The last effect, which is a pretty good addition for the Tearlaments, if you can banish up to 4 Lightsworn monsters from your graveyard, and then you can dump 4 cards from the top of your deck to the grave. So another good miller as well. Lastly, for the Michael, you can pay 1,000 life points and target 1 card on the field to banish that target. So that is your core, pretty easy enough. Let's move on with the variants for the deck. Okay guys, so here we are with the final version for our Tearlament and Lightsworn deck. Now, as you might see here at first glance, we have here Charge of the Light Brigade, which is a pretty good addition to this lineup as well, to make this deck a little bit more consistent in milling cards to the grave and hitting your Lightsworn monsters. Now, the reason why I'm running this is because it was really helpful for the commenters to tell me in my previous video that the deck was a little bit bricky, and I do agree with that. That's why we did the stream yesterday and checked the deck out if ever there were flaws, and if ever we'll break into some of the Lightsworn cards or some of the Punishment Dragon. So the reason we're running Charge of the Light Brigade is because you can gain access to your Dragonling or your copy of Wise. And if ever you have another Lightsworn monster in the grave, you can spell summon a copy of Dragonling to the field. Although your choice on getting access to the dragons will not be an option, but it's still perfectly fine because once this card is spell summoned to the field is what we're going for. And you can dump another Lightsworn monster from your deck to the graveyard, which is typically a copy of Felis or a copy of Wolf. Once this card is on the graveyard, you can spell summon them to the field. With the 2 materials, you can go access to a copy of either Abyss Dweller or a copy of Minerva, which allows you to mill an additional 3 cards, which is pretty helpful with the deck. So this deck actually mills quite a lot and helps you gain access to your Tearlaments cards more consistently than the previous version that we had. We're still running the same Tearlament cards or the staple Tearlament cards in Master Duel, so don't worry about it. We're not running the Super Polys as what majority of the tier element decks is using in Master Duel, but it's still perfectly fine because you want to be more consistent with this deck. You need more Lightsworn monsters in your graveyard, by the way, to have this effect work in milling additional 4 cards to the grave. So that's why we're stacking our deck or our main deck with Lightsworn monsters. There's a 2-card combo with regards to the Wolf and a copy of Wise that I'll showcase to you guys in a bit, that you can gain access into a copy of Visa's Amritara and a copy of Minerva during the first turn. So Amritara is another good card as well. It can gain you access to the copy of Pillarino, and since you haven't normal summoned during that turn, you can normal summon the copy of Reinhardt to the field, and you can continue on with your tier elements combo. It is pretty nice. Now the extra deck is perfect at this point, but I do think you can choose to run some other cards if you choose to. So far, in my own opinion, the extra deck is really good. That is basically our Lightsworn and tier elements deck. Let's move on with our Horus Lightsworn tier. Okay, for our Horus Lightsworn tier elements deck, this is what we have. Basically the same stuff with the Horus engine. So this is more consistent than the tier elements Lightsworn, because if ever you draw into a copy of Mseti or even a copy of King's Sarcophagus, you can even go for 3 copies of Sarcophagus just to make it more consistent, and then you can just dump cards to the graveyard. You'll have a Charge of the Light Brigade. You have the Foolish Burial Goods that can dump Sulik to the graveyard, gain access to 1 Reinhardt. You can also have Foolish Burial, just dump 1 card to the grave, whether it's a Lightsworn monster or even a tier elements monster, thus starting off your combo with either one of those. And if ever you go with Mseti summoning to the field plus Happy, you can go with a copy of the Zombie Vampire, mill additional cards, and then still go on with your combo. Since we're using level 8s here, and we have some level 4 tuners, we can run with another level 12 Synchro Monster. You can choose to run other ones like the Centurion card. So what I got so far for level 12 Synchro Monsters is a copy of Mathnex Sigma, which is unaffected by card effects. Very strong card. If ever you attack your opponent's monster, it doubles the attack. Like I said, Legatia draws 1 card, pops 1 card. And then we have the copy of the Brave Masuwaru. If ever your opponent activates a spell or trap card and you have less than 3 cards on hand, you can draw until you have 3 cards on hand. Really good card, or really good addition as well for this deck. Since we're spamming the board with a ton of monsters, Appaloosa is one of your best choices as well. I do think that having a copy of Underworld Goddess would be another good choice as well, but it's really up to you with your extra deck at this point on, because I have been tweaking so much with this deck honestly. So I think that's our Horus engine here. Oh, by the way, if you want a deck list with this or with all the deck lists that I'm showcasing now, it will be in the comment section below. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's move on with our final deck list, which is the Lightsworn variant. Okay, so for our Lightsworn variant without the tier elements, so this is Horus Lightsworn. The reason we're running this is because we'll just need a small number of Lightsworn names in our deck. And what I mean by that is having a copy of the Weiss, the Wolf, the Dragonling, and a copy of Felis. You can run the Dragon Monsters, it's not really half bad, but I choose not to. If you want to run the Dragons, you can just remove 1 copy of Felis here and run the Lightsworn Dragons. It's really up to you, but yeah, that's one of the choices that you can do with either running a copy of Judgment or either running a copy of Punishment. But if you don't like to run one of the dragons, just go with 2 copies of Felis. And since we're running a pure Lightsworn deck, we have room with Called by the Graves, Imperms. You can run with Cross-Up Designator and remove an additional copy of Talents if you like. We are running with 1 copy of Aegis here and max out a copy of Solar Recharge, dump 1 Lightsworn, or discard 1 Lightsworn monster and then draw 2 cards. Charge of Light Brigade, mills 3, add 1 Lightsworn card, and then you have the Horus that helps you quite a lot. Even if you don't like rank summon monsters, Horus is still perfectly good on the field. It's kind of like Kashtiras, but very impactful, because if you attack, you can use the Sarcophagus to dump their monsters or to send their monsters to the graveyard. And if ever 1 card is removed, it will trigger their effect as well. So it's pretty strong of a monster on the field, even if you don't rank summon them. We're also running our Keldo and Modora. Even if this is not a tier elements deck, it actually helps quite a lot. And yeah, we have some level 8 Synchro Monsters, the Draco, the Ciphering Lord Gamma, and then the Legatia for the draw 1, pop 1. For our rank monsters, we're running with the Dugaris, the Typhon, and a copy of the Zombie Vampire. And then majority of the extra deck is mostly Link monsters. So access code, Avramax, things like that. You can run with other cards if you wish, or if you have access to them. And that is basically our Lightsworn deck, or our pure Lightsworn deck. Not really pure, that our Lightsworn deck. So with that, I think that's everything else. Let's move on with the 2-card combo for the Lightsworn and Tearlaments deck. Okay, so here we are with the 2-card combo with the new Lightsworn monsters. So like I said, and this is with the help of Dimas, by the way. So my guy, thank you so much for the help with regards to this combo. I was totally confused on how this deck really works with regards to the combo, because there are a ton of lines that you can do with this. But this is a simple one that you can do with the deck. So yeah, let's start. So it's just basically 1 Wise plus 1 Lightsworn monster. Typically, a copy of Wolf would be a good choice. So you can just basically put 1 Lightsworn monster from your hand to the top of your deck. So we have Wolf here, put that one there, and spell summon the Wise. Once Wise is going to be on the field, you dump 2 cards from the top of your deck. So there we go. And since we have Wolf on the top of the deck that we dump, we can spell summon it directly from our graveyard. So with that, you have Wise as a tuner plus a level 4 non-tuner. We go for a copy of Minerva. And with Minerva, since you have 2 Lightsworn monsters as material, you can dump 2 Lightsworn monsters. So your choices here are basically the 2nd copy of Wise and a copy of Felis. The reason for this is Felis will be summoned to the field immediately, and then with the effect of Wise, you can spell summon the Wolf back to the field. So let's go. There we go. And with these 2 monsters here, we can go with the Amritara. Now, like I said earlier, Amritara is one of the best cards for Tearlaments because it can search out a copy of these cards right here. Take note of that one. We have here a copy of Scream, a Grief, a copy of Solic the Crime, and even a copy of the Pillarino. Pretty good for a card effect to gain you access to the Pillarino. Or if ever you have some other Tearlament cards, you can use the other cards here. But for me, if you're going with this 2-card combo, go for the Pillarino. Now, your opponent might, wait out a copy of Nibiru or whatsoever. You can go into a copy of Photon Lord here if you like to. But if you're safe enough to continue on with the combo, I do advise just go directly with the Minerva. But yeah, you can just choose to banish your Lightsworn monsters from the graveyard up to 4. So you can milk cards up to the number of Lightsworn monsters that you actually banished. With this, we can go with a copy of Photon Lord because I am afraid of Nibiru, so that we have a monster negate. So that's pretty good. And then we have a copy of Pillarino activated, gaining access to our Rhino Heart. And then Rhino Heart, we normal summon, continue on with our combo. That's it. That's our Tearlaments line. Dumping a copy of Havness. Now if you have another Tearlaments, you can use this. Whatever, it's up to you. That's it. Summon that. And if you want more cards to be sent to the graveyard, you can use the effect of Kitkalis to a copy of Tearlaments Kashtira, and so on and so forth. You still have 3 additional cards or 2 additional cards on your hand for the rest of your combo, which is not half bad. So I do think that this is pretty good. The more cards you have in your field, you can just go into a copy of Little Knight or a copy of Masquerina, which is pretty nice to have on the field as well. But yeah, that is basically our 2-card combo with the deck. And yeah, the Horus is pretty straightforward. It's not really like half bad. But anyways, that is a quick glance on the 2-card combo with the Wise and a copy of the Wolf. So tell me your thoughts on the new Lightsworn supports. Tell me your thoughts on the new Tearlaments. Tell me in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in the next video. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.